Chapter 754 Yun Fan. Chapter 754, Yun Fan. Yun Fan, who had turned into a silver-armored ancient god, had blue veins bulging out of his skin. This meant he was also pulling out all the stops. The powerful starry sword river finally crashed into the Yun Fan's staff shadow. Bang! A deafening bang sounded. A frightening shock wave spread out and swept across the area with overwhelming momentum. On the ground below, numerous pits appeared. The entire earth started trembling like mad. The sky was falling and the earth was opening up. It looked like doomsday had arrived. The two Eternal Realm experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard, who were still quite far from Jian, Wushuang and Yun Fan, were also influenced by the shockwave. They let out a muffled yell and quickly retreated in disorder. When they finally came to a halt and regained their balance, they found blood trickling down the corners of their mouths. In the center of the battlefield, the energy collision was still causing explosions. But the fierce collisions only lasted a few minutes before two huge bodies were thrown into the air. Blood spilled from the corners of Jian Wushuang's mouth. His 50-meter-long body flew back several thousand meters and then came to a halt. As for Yun Fan, he was not much better off than Jian Wushuang. I've spared no effort but still failed to get the upper hand. Jets of dazzling light burst out from Jian Wushuang's eyes. His giant body broke into a run at an amazing speed and charged at Yun Fan again. He laughed heartily. Another round. Yun Fan's face was expressionless. He clutched the black stone staff more tightly and stepped forward. The two crossed swords again. This time they were in close combat. Jian Wushuang displayed his real swordsmanship. Yun Fan also gave a full play of his staff technique. Clank, 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 boom. Fearful roars could be heard incessantly. Each rumble was thunderous and expansive, spreading in all directions. Though Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Mo Tao and Palace Master Ming Xn had long since fled far away, they noticed what was happening behind them. Seeing the horrible power created by the close combat between Jian Wushuang and Yun Fan was extremely nerve-wracking. How powerful! Palace Master Ming Xn exclaimed, clasping both hands. Stop dawdling, let's get out of here. Palace Master Destruction growled. Yes. Palace Master Ming Xan and Palace Master Mo Tao nodded. They took off. But before they left, Palace Master Destruction cast a significant look at Jian Wushuang. The look was slightly peculiar. Bang! Two strikes crashed into each other again. He is only a one-star demon god. How can his battle strength be so overbearing? He didn't even suffer when he crashed into me head-on. Yun Fan thought, his face quite grim. To defeat him, I will have to resort to my trump card. But the most I can do is defeat him. Killing him, I'm afraid, is impossible. Yun Fan grumbled. All of a sudden, he realized that Palace Master Destruction and his lot were already out of his vision. Damn it, they got away. Yun Fan cursed, but he could do nothing about it. The only thing he could blame was his luck. He was just unlucky to come across such a fearful demon god who deliberately picked on him. Let's go. In spite of his defiance, Yun Fan still chose to give up and take off. He had no way of killing Jian Wushuang. Considering the large number of demon gods in the Tianqi Mountains and the commotion he had caused in the fight, there were probably several demon gods in the vicinity already coming this way. He had to leave now. When Yun Fan attempted to leave, Jian Wushuang showed no intention of stopping him. He just watched Yun Fan take his departure. When Yun Fan left, Jian Wushuang's body shrank and he returned to his human appearance. He put his silver mask on, but you could still see his dismal eyes through the two holes in the mask. Yun Fan really is a great elder of the Cloud Sea Asgard. He is way too strong. I turned into a gold-armored ancient god and gave a full play of my strength. My battle strength must have reached step 4 of the Eternal Realm. And yet I still couldn't finish him. Plus, he's a great elder from the Cloud Sea Asgard. He must have some trump cards or awesome secret skills that he could but didn't use. Jian Wushuang murmured. He knew that to break through any of the 6 steps of the Eternal Realm would require a real metamorphosis of strength. Although the Eternal Realm was divided into 6 steps, most of the Eternal Realm experts in the Firmament territory were stuck at step 1 or step 2. Some experts could not even reach step 1. Only a handful of experts could bring their battle strength to step 3. You could count the Eternal Realm experts who were equipped with a step 3 battle strength on 2 hands. Even if you counted in solitary experts as well, there were still less than 20. As for the number of experts at step 4, it would be even less. Currently, the only Eternal Realm expert who had reached beyond Step 4 in the entire Firmament territory was Xian Yi. Yun Fan had the potential to reach Step 4, but no one had verified it. After all, ever since he became a great elder of the Cloud Sea Asgard, people seldom saw him strike. But after this fight, Jian Wushuang was certain that Yun Fan had a battle strength at Step 4. He used a long staff as his weapon, and he also produced the staff heart. Like my sword heart, his staff heart is also at the peak of level 2. However, he can turn into a silver-armored ancient god. Once he transformed, his strength soared up, which could probably match someone at the peak of Step 3. In addition, he has practiced the Star River secret skill. He had clearly sensed the power of the Star River secret skill Yun Fan cast. Level 5. His Star River secret skill has already reached level 5. He can unleash an offensive power 15 times more than his original power, which is 5 times stronger than normal Eternal Realm experts. In light of this sole advantage, I'm sure his battle strength has already passed Step 3 of the Eternal Realm and entered Step 4. If he also uses one of his trump cards or another secret skill, he can never lose to other experts at Step 4. As for Jian Wushuang, when he was not an ancient god, his battle strength was at the peak of Step 2. But once he transformed into an ancient god. It should be noted that he was a gold-armored ancient god with part of the imperial bloodline, much tougher than the silver-armored ancient god Yun Fan could turn into. When he assumed the form of an ancient god, his battle strength could reach Step 4 as well. My overall strength is very close to his. If we actually get into a life-or-death battle, the result will likely depend on whose trump cards are more imposing. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands, eyes glinting. He had been holding a grudge against the 3 magnates for a long time. Among the 3 magnates, the one he resented most was the Boundless Demon Sect. After all, it was an expert from the Boundless Demon Sect that had incurred the death of Wuxia. Nevertheless, the one he favored least was the Cloud Sea Asgard. Now that Yun Fan was a great elder, if Jian Wushuang could murder him, it would certainly be a huge blow to the Cloud Sea Asgard. Chapter 755, The Revenge of the Cloud Sea Asgard. Chapter 755, The Revenge of the Cloud Sea Asgard. When Jian Wushuang blocked Yun Fan, Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Mo Tao, and Palace Master Ming Xan had seized the opportunity and fled without stopping. A series of blasts had sounded from behind, keeping them in constant terror. They did not breathe a sigh of relief until they had escaped far from the battlefield and met Baiyu and Lingyu, who had also detected the emergency signal and hurried to help. On a rather deserted hill, the 5 Eternal Realm experts of the ancient sect gathered together. Destruction, what on earth happened? What made you send the emergency signal? Palace Master Destruction's face went somber. It was because of Yun Fan. Yun Fan. Baiyu and Lingyu were both taken aback. At first, the 3 of us were pretty lucky. We snatched up a baptismal pool from the demon gods. But as soon as we got it, we bumped into Yun Fan, who happened to be passing by, and 2 other experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard. Palace Master Destruction started to recount the whole story. They're all human beings as we are. So even though Yun Fan felt jealous about us obtaining the baptismal pool, he should have restrained his temper a bit. But to our surprise, the old bastard launched a direct strike against us. At this point, Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Mo Tao, and Palace Master Ming Xan looked highly infuriated. The 3 of us naturally found this outrageous and tried our best to fight back. But Yun Fan has concealed his strength for so many years, he must have brought his strength to a higher level in secret. By my calculation, his present battle strength rivals someone at Step 4 of the Eternal Realm, Palace Master Destruction said. Step 4. Baiyu and Lingyu were shocked. He turned into a silver-armored demon god and totally subdued us all by himself, Palace Master Destruction went on. We could only flee in a haste, but he didn't give up and kept chasing after us. We thought he was coming for the baptismal pool. Since he was so desperate to get the thing to save our lives, I proposed that he could have the baptismal pool in exchange for our safety. But to everyone's shock, he refused. Refused? Palace Master Baiyu's expression altered. You promised him the baptismal pool of the demon gods, how could he turn you down? Who knows? Destruction shook his head. That guy was crazy. He just wanted the 3 of us dead. Palace Master Mo Tao cursed under his breath. We were being chased and were running out of solutions. So, we had to send the emergency signal and ask for help, Palace Master Destruction said helplessly. When he finished, Palace Master Baiyu and Vice Palace Master Ling Yu both turned quite solemn. The three had been willing to give him the baptismal pool of demon gods, yet he still didn't let them off the hook. It seemed that he was really going to kill Palace Master Destruction and the other two. We then asked ourselves whether Yun Fan held some personal grudge against us. Judging by his behavior, it's obvious that he wants to have a go at our ancient sect. If nothing else, I reckon it's because 100 years ago Palace Master Xian Yi killed 7 Eternal Realm experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard. I bet that ever since, the Cloud Sea Asgard has been bearing a grudge against our ancient sect. And this was why Yu Fan vented his anger on us. What a jerk. Isn't he afraid of provoking the entire ancient sect? Baiyu swore. No, he isn't. Vice Palace Master Ling Yu suddenly spoke. Palace Master Destruction and the other two immediately turned to look at him. Ling Yu continued with a note of seriousness. Everybody, as you know, although our ancient sect is a very special sect in the firmament territory, sometimes we still have to look out for the three magnates. To be honest, the overall strength of our ancient sect is not that remarkable, nor is our history or foundation. All we have are our sect master and Palace Master Xian Yi. Now, in terms of the three magnates, the strength of any of them is way above our ancient sect. They have no fear for our ancient sect or our Eternal Realm experts. They really only care about our sect master and Palace Master Xian Yi. However, our sect master always acts in secret. It's been years since he revealed himself before us. We don't even know if he is still in the firmament territory or not. As for Palace Master Xian Yi, well, you all know his temper. He has his own style. As long as others don't offend him to an unbearable extent, such as killing his top disciples, his close relatives, or putting the ancient sect in a life-threatening crisis, he won't strike back. Precisely for this reason, Yun Fan has no scruples in attacking you guys. 100 years ago, it was Palace Master Xian Yi who killed 7 Eternal Realm experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard, causing them to suffer a great loss. But they don't dare get back at Palace Master Xian Yi, so they can only attack our experts as revenge. After hearing Vice Palace Master Ling Yu out, Palace Master Destruction and his lot nodded in agreement. They all sincerely approved of what Vice Palace Master Ling Yu had just said. Indeed, the only ones in the ancient sect that could really frighten the three magnates were their sect master, who was titled as the top expert in the firmament territory, and Palace Master Xian Yi, who was famous for his mysterious but formidable power. Other than these two, the three magnates never took other experts seriously. Accordingly, it was only normal for the three magnates to retaliate against them instead of Xian Yi. Seems that in the next few days we have to be more cautious, Palace Master Destruction exclaimed. The other Palace Masters nodded in agreement. By the way, Destruction, Palace Master Baiyu looked back. You said you were in such a dangerous situation. But how on earth did you escape from Yun Fan? The three Palace Masters exchanged embarrassed looks. Their expressions became a bit odd. Here's the thing. Palace Master Destruction started to explain. When we were running away, we came across a gold-armored demon god with horrible strength. This gold-armored demon god was only at the 1-star level, but his battle strength was just as great as Yun Fan's. And the most important thing is that he showed no interest in us at all. No interest? Palace Master Baiyu was a bit startled. Yes, he was not interested. Palace Master Ming Xian nodded as well. He was right in front of us. But when he came near, he just went past, didn't even shoot a glance at us. He didn't attack either. Instead, he got into a fight with Yun Fan. Thanks to him barring Yun Fan's way, we finally got a chance to run away. Really? The other two Palace Masters found this a bit fishy. How could a demon god have no interest in the three experts? Actually, there is another thing, Palace Master Destruction spoke suddenly. His brows furrowed slightly. What is it? The other Palace Masters all turned to look at him. When the gold-armored demon god was battling with Yun Fan, I observed the sword he was using. The sword appeared to be the Emperor's sword. Palace Master Destruction grunted. What? Palace Master Mo Tao, Palace Master Baiyu, and the rest were all astonished at these words. The Emperor's sword. The one Palace Master Xian Yi had made? The one that belonged to the successor of the Sword Palace? Chapter 756, A Reunion. Chapter 756, A Reunion. Destruction, did you see it clearly? Palace Master Mo Tao asked anxiously. They had been in a rush. He and Palace Master Ming Xan had not even cast a proper glance at the longsword Jian Wushuang was wielding. Only Palace Master Destruction saw it. The sword in the gold-armored demon god's hand was enlarged several times, but I still recognized it. I'm sure it was the Emperor's sword. Palace Master Destruction nodded again to confirm his judgment, whetting the curiosity of the ancient sect's other palace masters. For all time, the Emperor's sword was supposed to be in Jian Wushuang's hands, wasn't it? 100 years ago, Jian Wushuang had gotten caught up in a serious crisis in the Eternal Zone and never walked out of it. He had probably died long ago. As for the Emperor's sword, it had likely fallen into the hands of the demon gods. They would not be surprised at all to see a demon god carrying the Emperor's sword show up to kill them. But the gold-armored demon god they just met had not intended to attack them. Considering that he was only a one-star demon god but was carrying the Emperor's sword, they could not help but feel very skeptical about the whole thing. Guys, tell me, do you think the gold-armored demon god we met could possibly be? Palace Master Destruction broke off. The other 4 palace masters also fell into silence. At this precise moment, a swoosh of wind sounded, and a figure suddenly appeared before them. Who's there? Palace Master Destruction and the other 4 instantly swiveled around to look at the figure. When they caught a clear sight him, the palace masters were all dumbstruck. The black-robed figure, carrying a long sword on his back and wearing a wicked silver mask, was the same gold-armored demon god that had just gotten rid of Yun Fan for them. He slowly took off his wicked mask. Then his voice sounded, reverberating in the mountainous space. It's been 100 years since we last met. Palace Masters, I hope that you are all well. Jian Wushuang's voice held a trace of sorrow, whereas a smile was curling along his lips. After getting rid of Yun Fan, he had set off in the direction of Palace Master Destruction and the others. Sure enough, he had caught up with them and saw the 5 palace masters of the ancient sect assembled here. When the 5 palace masters recognized Jian Wushuang's face, they were stunned and soon overjoyed. Jian Wushuang. Is it really you? You didn't die? The 5 palace masters quickly approached him and blurted out their amazement at the same time. They were shocked, thrilled, and apparently blown away by this rather unbelievable miracle. When Jian Wushuang did not walk out of the Eternal Zone 100 years ago, almost everyone thought he was dead. The experts of the ancient sects also believed he had met his downfall. But now here he was standing before them and scathed. I have a tough fate. How could I die so easily? Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. This is utterly unbelievable. Jian Wushuang, how did you survive? They stepped forward and sized him up with intense curiosity. Human experts from the Firmament territory often got involved in fights against demon gods, so the demon god clan hated them bitterly. But it turned out that a total of 100 years had passed. Jian Wushuang turned out to be fine after staying 100 years in the demon god clan. I'm just lucky, Jian Wushuang explained half-heartedly. After exchanging short greetings, the 5 palace masters gradually calmed down. Jian Wushuang, quickly tell us what really happened. You didn't die 100 years ago, why didn't you get out of the Eternal Zone in time? Palace Master Destruction posed several questions in one breath. Here is my story. Jian Wushuang gave them a summarized version of what had happened 100 years ago. He told them how the disciples from the Cloud Sea Asgard and the Immortal Dynasty attacked him and how the Boundless Demon Sect dispatched an Eternal Realm expert who chased him to the outer layer. Of course, he said nothing about the ancient god clan arresting Wu Dao, Dao Mei and Long Tao by luring them into a trap. No wonder you didn't return in time. It turns out you were being hunted by an Eternal Realm expert from the Boundless Demon Sect and were forced to flee to the inner layer. Palace Master Destruction scowled. Then he let out a snort. Humph, how ruthless the Boundless Demon Sect is. They not only send out their disciples to strike, but also dispatched an Eternal Realm elder to turn around and assassinate you, a nobody in the skyscraping realm? The Boundless Demon Sect is truly vicious. The Boundless Demon Sect is treacherous and despicable. And the Cloud Sea Asgard and the Immortal Dynasty are not good guys either. Palace Master Mo Tao and Palace Master Baiyu echoed his comments. Thanks to my luck, I narrowly escaped from the Boundless Demon Sect expert. But due to my severe injuries I failed to get back in time. And during the past 100 years I stayed in the Eternal Zone. For a few special reasons the Demon God clan did not go hard on me. In fact, they treated me fairly well, Jian Wushuang said. He merely told them it was for special reasons but did not elaborate further. Palace Master Destruction and the other palace masters were eloquent enough to not insist on poking into this matter. Right then. No matter what you've been through in the past 100 years, it's enough that you're still alive. When your master Xian Yi hears about this, he will certainly be very glad, Palace Master Destruction said, beaming. Yeah. 100 years ago, Palace Master Xian Yi was furious at the news of your death. In front of all the experts of various sects, he directly launched an open attack against the Cloud Sea Asgard and killed 7 of their Eternal Realm experts. It really devastated them. Palace Master Immortality laughed. But precisely for this incident, the Cloud Sea Asgard began to hold a grudge against our ancient sect. And this is exactly why the 3 of us were being chased just now. Really? His words stirred something in Jian Wushuang's mind. His master, Xian Yi, had slaughtered 7 Eternal Realm experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard to vent his rage when he heard of his death. Besides that, Jian Wushuang, your strength truly surprised us, Palace Master Destruction added. Mo Tao, Ming Xan, and the other palace masters all gazed at each other speechlessly. They smiled, but their eyes revealed a trace of terror. Especially Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Mo Tao, and Palace Master Ming Xan. After all, they had witnessed the fierce fight between Jian Wushuang and Yun Fan with their own eyes. Jian Wushuang could turn into a gold-armored demon god, and he was thoroughly qualified to battle with Yun Fan head-on. It was evident that his strength had reached step 4 of the Eternal Realm. That was to say, his strength was much stronger than any of theirs. And Jian Wushuang was still a Divine Realm expert. 4 people in the Firmament territory. It was completely inconceivable that a Divine Realm expert could have a battle strength at step 4 of the Eternal Realm. They had never heard of the existence of such a formidable Divine Realm expert within the Firmament territory. Chapter 757 Traces. Chapter 757 Traces. On a nameless hill in the Tianqi Mountains, Jian Wushuang and 5 palace masters of the ancient sect were chatting. Jian Wushuang, I'm so happy to see you alive, Palace Master Destruction said. In a few days the Eternal Zone will close again. Please leave with us before that happens. Sure. Jian Wushuang nodded. Well, what's your plan for the next couple of days? Do you want to travel with us or go by yourself? Palace Master Destruction asked another question. I still have some things to take care of. So, I may not be able to join you this time, Jian Wushuang answered. Are you going to deal with the 3 magnates? Palace Master Destruction cast a significant look at him. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. With your current strength, experts from the 3 magnates in the Tianqi Mountains are hardly a threat to you. But you still need to be careful, Palace Master Destruction advised. I know. He gave a smile. By the way, is there any chance you know who the Eternal Realm expert from the Boundless Demon sect that hunted me down was? Jian Wushuang had not forgotten Gu Qiong, to whom he owed a lot. Gu Qiong had died for him. His death had become a thorn growing in Jian Wushuang's heart. He was absolutely determined to kill the Eternal Realm expert who had chased after him back then. Judging by his appearance, strength, and the attack style that you just described, I reckon it was An Chao. Palace Master Destruction said solemnly. An Chao. Jian Wushuang memorized this name by heart. Speaking of An Chao, the expressions of Palace Master Baiyu and Vice Palace Master Ling Yu suddenly turned weird. What's the matter? Jian Wushuang looked at them. Jian Wushuang, frankly, not long ago when Ling Yu and I were adventuring in the Tianqi Mountains, we ran into An Chao, Palace Master Baiyu began. Really? Jian Wushuang's face altered. The place we met him is not far from here. When we saw him, he was with 3 guys, all experts from the Boundless Demon sect. One of them was Xia Yuan. Palace Master Baiyu said. Xia Yuan? Jian Wushuang repeated, staring at Palace Master Baiyu in bewilderment. Xia Yuan is extremely strong. He is at step 2 of the Eternal Realm. A few days ago, he usurped a baptismal pool and successfully used it to transform into a copper-armored demon god. When he assumes the form of a copper-armored demon god, his battle strength will reach step 3 of the Eternal Realm, Palace Master Baiyu said. An Eternal Realm expert with a battle strength at step 3 of the Eternal Realm could be counted as the strongest expert in the Firmament territory. Among the Palace Masters of the ancient sect, only Palace Master Destruction had a viable chance of putting up a fight against him. The 4 of them must be traveling as a group. I'm afraid that they are still wandering about in that area, Palace Master Baiyu added. Jian Wushuang simply took out the map of the Tianqi Mountains. Palace Master Baiyu, where did you meet them? He asked. Palace Master Baiyu quickly looked through the map and pointed a finger at a giant mountain. Here, near the Ice Fire Mountain. Here? Jian Wushuang tilted his head a little. Thanks a lot. Jian Wushuang put the map away. He cupped his hands at Palace Master Destruction and the other four. He was ready to leave. Jian Wushuang, remember, in 7 days you have to hurry to the Heavenly Stone Valley and find our ancient sect's assembly place. If you miss this chance, you can only stay in the Eternal Zone for another 100 years, Palace Master Destruction yelled. Got it? Jian Wushuang shouted back. He was already flying away. On the hill, Palace Master Destruction and the other four were standing in a line. They watched Jian Wushuang gradually fly out of sight and then heaved a sigh. The kid has upgraded his strength to such a level in merely 100 years. Even we can't catch up with him now. I always knew he was very talented, but I never expected him to be so powerful. Destruction, over the past 100 years, you've been bragging about Feng, your personal disciple, showing him off like a star, right? You also said that in less than 1,000 years, Feng could enter the Eternal Realm, right? How about you let this disciple have a fight against Jian Wushuang and we can see who is better? Palace Master Mo Tao said jokingly. Fight? What for? Palace Master Destruction breathed a puff of air into his beard, his face thoroughly bitter. Feng? Whether he could break through the Eternal Realm was still unknown. Even if he did, there was no way he could be more powerful than Jian Wushuang, could he? Following Palace Master Baiyu's directions, Jian Wushuang headed for the Ice Fire Mountain. It took him less than half a day to reach the foot of the Ice Fire Mountain. I wonder if Chao and his lot are still around, Jian Wushuang muttered. He began to loaf about in the vast region around the Ice Fire Mountain. Only 2 hours later, he detected the emergency signal of the ancient god clan. He rushed there as fast as he could. However, since the source of the signal was quite far, by the time he got there, the fight was already over. The water in a baptismal pool had been taken by someone. The 2 ancient god clansmen responsible for guarding the baptismal pool were both severely injured. Thanks to the timely arrival of other clansmen, they had not been killed. Jian Wushuang inquired about the human experts who attacked them. The answers they gave were exactly what Jian Wushuang wanted to hear. According to the account of the 2 injured clansmen, 4 human experts had attacked them, one of whom transformed into a copper-armored ancient god. There was also a glum elder in their group who was supposed to be in Chao. Seems that the 4 from the Boundless Demon sect are still around. Jian Wushuang squinted into the surroundings and muttered, there are 6 baptismal pools in the vicinity of the Ice Fire Mountain. They've already robbed one of them, they must be biding their time to rob the rest. Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold. Once the Boundless Demon sect expert struck again, his opportunity would come. Jian Wushuang continued to wander around the Ice Fire Mountain, waiting for the 4 Boundless Demon sect experts to strike again. Meanwhile, on the bank of a small nameless lake near the Ice Fire Mountain, 4 figures were sitting together. Haha, following Mr. Xia Yuan is great. Look, we obtained a baptismal pool without effort. And Chao, a glum black-robed elder, said with a chilling voice. Well, it's just a baptismal pool, not a big deal. A strapping shirtless man snorted. This was Xia Yuan, the most powerful among the group of 4. And Chao gave a dry smile and did not dare to say more. Xia Yuan looked around. We investigated before, there are 6 baptismal pools at the Ice Fire Mountain. We only have 1. It's nothing to brag about. If we can obtain all 6 baptismal pools, that will be something. And our next target is this one. Chapter 758, Returning a Favor. Chapter 758, Returning a Favor. Next to a baptismal pool near the Ice Fire Mountain in the Tianqi Mountains, 2 imposing figures were standing quietly. They kept casting nervous looks at their surroundings. In the void not far from the baptismal pool, a group of 4 people gathered together. They were from the Boundless Demon sect and led by Xia Yuan. They were overlooking the distant baptismal pool through the void. We've scouted out the baptismal pool. 2 demon gods are guarding it. Both of them are 2-star silver-armored demon gods and their battle strength rivals experts at Step 2 of the Eternal Realm. One of them in particular carries a longbow on his back. He is a very good archer, Xia Yuan said in a deep voice. Well, I can handle the demon god with the longbow. Kang Jing, the other demon god, is yours. It'll do if you just hold him back. Can you do that? Xia Yuan asked the man standing beside him. No problem. Kang Jing nodded. Although he was only at step 1 of the Eternal Realm, what he did best was tangle with the opponent. It was not difficult for him to hold a 2-star silver-armored demon god back. As for the two of you, just hurry down at your fastest speed and collect all the water in the baptismal pool. Understand? Xia Yuan turned to look at An Chao and the last Eternal Realm expert. Yes. An Chao and the other guy nodded in unison. All right then, let's get started. Xia Yuan took the lead and zipped ahead of them towards the baptismal pool at an incredible speed. An Chao and the other 2 Eternal Realm experts were on his heels. A few seconds later, they were visible to the 2 clansmen from the ancient god clan. A rich aura burst out from Xia Yuan. As he advanced forward, he was also growing in size. In an instant, he turned into a copper-armored ancient god. Invasion. The 2 clansmen instantly realized what was happening. One was a hairy middle-aged man, carrying a longbow and wrapped in fur. It was Yang, the same person who had saved Jian Wushuang from An Chao 100 years ago. Seeing Xia Yuan and the others charging toward him, Yang gave a snort and immediately transformed into a silver-armored ancient god. The longbow he usually carried on his back appeared in his hands. His huge hands drew the bow forcefully. A stream of horrible power started to converge in the longbow. The power was so formidable that even An Chao and Kang Jing, who were both at step 1 of the Eternal Realm, began to shudder involuntarily. It's him. An Chao's pupils contracted as he recognized Yang. 100 years ago, Yang had shot 2 arrows at him. The first one seriously wounded him. When the second one was about to hit him, he had thrown out one of his trump cards and escaped by a fluke. He knew that Yang's strength was far superior to that of an ordinary 2-star silver-armored ancient god. Go to hell. A snarl sounded. Yang suddenly loosened his right hand, which had been tensely drawing the bowstring. A pitch-black arrow shot out, streaking across the void like a bright shooting star. The frightening arrow appeared in front of Xia Yuan in the blink of an eye. Xia Yuan had a cold look, a sense of contempt flitted through his eyes. He was holding a giant axe in one hand. He hacked his giant axe lazily forwards and split the air in 2. Clang? With a loud clang, the arrow was smashed to pieces. What? Yang looked panic-stricken. He shouted, "Hurry up, send the emergency signal. These outsiders are powerful." The other clansman standing next to Yang had already registered the current situation. Without hesitation, he sent out the emergency signal. It would take some time before anyone who picked up the signal could come here. The 2 did not know whether they could hold it together that long. Humph! Xia Yuan snorted. He strode up to Yang with his giant axe in hand and swung it at Yang. Yang pushed his longbow onto his back and a long black spear emerged mysteriously in his hand. He threw himself into a fierce fight with Xia Yuan. Xiao's battle strength was more than enough to allow him to deal with an expert at the peak of Step 2 of the Eternal Realm, however it was still way below Xia Yuan's. Shortly after they began to fight, the outcome was clear. Xia Yuan was totally quashing Yang. On the other side, Kang Jing had also successfully entangled the other clansmen. An Chao and the last Eternal Realm expert had reached the baptismal pool of demon gods. They began to extract the water using their interspatial rings. Bastard! Yang felt a rush of fury flowing into his heart. When he caught sight of An Chao and the other guy frantically drying up the pool, his expression turned even darker. He broke free with all his force, drew his longbow once again and shot another arrow towards An Chao. It was a lethal attack. An Chao and the other Eternal Realm expert jumped sideways. The arrow missed its target and failed to cause any injuries. Instead, Yang's missed attack offered Xia Yuan a good opportunity. You're dueling with me, but you still have time to care about the baptismal pool. You really don't know death is approaching. Xia Yuan's chilling voice sounded in Yang's ears. He heard a howling wind. Axe Shadow was already in front of him. Crap. Yang's expression changed drastically. Even though he was a silver-armored ancient god, he knew he would die if this powerful axe landed on his head. The axe soared towards him so fast that the moment he shot the second arrow, the axe shadow was already before him, leaving him no chance to escape. Am I really going to die? Yang was seized by despair. But just at this moment, whoosh! A jet of dazzling sword light suddenly appeared. It was extremely vast and menacing, just like a sword river. It zoomed in front of Yang and blocked the giant axe that was roaring toward him. Bang! With a loud clash, the sword river was shattered to pieces. But in this split second, Gu Yang retreated to the other side and dodged the deadly strike. What a narrow escape. Gu Yang widened his eyes. He felt half surprised, half grateful. He saw a black-robed figure with a wicked silver mask appear next to him. Although he could not see the man's face based on the one-star aura he was emitting, he quickly realized who it was. "Thank you," Gu Yang said curtly. 100 years ago you saved me. Today I saved yours, so I've returned your favor, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Yeah. Gu Yang nodded slightly. Jian Wushuang had been wandering about in this area for a while and was not too far away when he heard the emergency signal. He had rushed here only to see Gu Yang in great danger. Naturally, he struck without delay. Chapter 759 Jian Wushuang? Chapter 759, Jian Wushuang? How lucky I am. I found An Chao and another 3 boundless demon sect experts. And just as I'm about to leave the Eternal Zone, it even saved me from thinking of how to return Gu Yang's favor. Jian Wushuang smiled. He did not like to owe others. Gu Yang had saved his life, so he wanted to do him a good return. An Chao. Killing intent flashed in his eyes, the only uncovered part of his body, as he cursed the name in secret. In order to kill An Chao, I have to kill Xia Yuan first. Jian Wushuang made up his mind. The bloodline power started surging inside his body. In an instant, he had transformed into a 10-meter-high gold-armored ancient god. His emperor sword also expanded to 10 meters long. He dove forward. His aura was rising ferociously higher and higher. A gold-armored demon god. Xia Yuan was startled to see the ancient god. No wonder he could withstand my blow. He is a 1-star gold-armored demon god. However, he is not enough to threaten me. He sneered and charged toward Jian Wushuang, his giant axe in hand. The two neared each other. Mind-controlling secret skill. Jian Wushuang growled and punched at Xia Yuan. He was immediately enveloped by a strange power. Xia Yuan felt his mind struck by a sudden pain. He paused his move. A moment later he managed to recover from the pain. He regained his senses before Jian Wushuang could destroy him. Jian Wushuang sighed in disappointment. My realm is too low. I can't overpower an expert in Step 3 of the Eternal Realm with mind-controlling secret skill yet. His skill didn't affect Xia Yuan at all except for slowing down him a little. Fine. I never expected that I could defeat him relying on this skill. He displayed his best skill, Netherworld. Xia Yuan struck out with his axe. It then became a battle of pure power. Puff. Xia Yuan coughed out a mouthful of blood, and his axe almost slipped out his hand. He is in Step 4. Xia Yuan's eyes betrayed his horror. He wanted to retreat. However, Jian Wushuang did not let him leave. He came up to Xia Yuan again and launched a series of attacks. Soon Xia Yuan was overwhelmed by sword shadows. Jian Wushuang went all out. Damn. Those damn moves. Xia Yuan cursed as he hurriedly tried to defend himself. He felt he was going to lose. Sometime later he finally got his golden chance to escape. He quickly displayed a secret skill. However, he had only made it 100 meters when he heard a whooshing sound from one side. He turned his head only to see a black arrow flying toward him at an amazing speed. If he kept running forward, it would hit him. He had to stop. The arrow flew past him. But before he could let out a sigh of relief, Jian Wushuang had caught up with him from behind and displayed twilight. No! Xia Yuan let out a roar of despair before Jian Wushuang's sword went through his body, breaking his life core. After killing Xia Yuan, Jian Wushuang looked toward Gu Yang and gave him a thumbs up. The latter put down his long bow and looked back with a nod. The arrow had contributed to Xia Yuan's death to some extent. It was true that Jian Wushuang was more powerful than Xia Yuan, however, Xia Yuan was faster than him. If it were not for the arrow blocking him temporarily, Jian Wushuang could not have caught up with him and killed him. The other 3 boundless demon sect experts were panic-stricken by Xia Yuan's death. Run. Run as fast as you can. They started running in different directions. And Chao had kept a close eye on the battle between Jian Wushuang and Xia Yuan, thus he was the first one to sense the danger and react. He assumed the ancient god would chase after the other 2 experts because it would be easier than catching him. However, to his surprise he saw the ancient god coming after him. Among the 4 boundless demon sect experts, An Chao is first place on my kill list. Jian Wushuang's killing intent was booming. He had to kill this murderer to avenge Gu Qiong. Swish. Swish. Both Jian Wushuang and An Chao ran very fast and soon they were lost from sight. How could he be so fast? Looking back at Jian Wushuang who was drawing nearer and nearer, An Chao turned pale. Why did he only target me? Though he was puzzled, he pulled his attention back to his feet. He displayed all his skills to speed up and became visibly faster. Jian Wushuang found he was further and further behind despite running at his full speed. He was becoming anxious. He knew if he did not display a secret skill to become quicker, he would lose his target. This guy responded so fast. He took off the moment he saw me kill Xia Yuan, leaving me no chance to display the mind-controlling secret skill. Jian Wushuang thought with a frown. The skill was powerful, but it could only produce a magical effect on its target within a certain distance. And Chao had escaped far from Jian Wushuang right away. He could not attack him with it. It seems that I have to use another skill. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. He began shrinking back into a normal human being. With his will, his spiritual power began burning inside him. He was displaying the Dragon Blood secret skill. It was a skill that could increase one's speed by consuming his spiritual power. The cost of using such a skill was so great that Jian Wushuang would use it only in an emergency. 100 years ago when he was being pursued by An Chao, he had used the skill and managed to escape into the inner layer where he was finally saved by Gu Yang. Now the tables had turned. He was pursuing An Chao. You can't escape from me, Jian Wushuang shouted. His voice echoed throughout the place. With the Dragon Blood secret skill he could run 10 times faster than before, faster than An Chao. It appeared he would catch up with An Chao soon. Oh no! This can't be real. An Chao was struck by horror as he sensed Jian Wushuang's aura near him. He could not help looking back and was shocked to see Jian Wushuang in human form. It's. He stared at the man running after him with wide eyes. Even though the man had his face covered behind a mask, he was very familiar with this man. He recognized his secret skill, the long sword on his back, and even the way he moved. They were exactly the same as the man he'd met 100 years ago. The only difference was that, now he was the one being hunted. It's you. It should be you. An Chao murmured. If Jian Wushuang hadn't transformed into a gold-armored ancient god before, An Chao would have recognized him much earlier. Jian Wushuang. I know you're Jian Wushuang. An Chao shouted back at the man running after him. There was horror and disbelief in his voice, and his words echoed throughout the void for a long time. Jian Wushuang heard him and smirked. So, you finally recognized me? You have to die all the same. Jian Wushuang sped up again. Neither one noticed that there was a gray-haired elder hidden in the forest they just passed. He was waiting there for his injuries to recover. However, the elder had spotted them and was amazed. Is that Jian Wushuang? The peerless genius of the ancient sect? Didn't he die 100 years ago? Chapter 760, The Ancient God Token. Chapter 760, The Ancient God Token. In the Tianqi Mountains, there were two figures running forward one after the other. It was Jian Wushuang and An Chao. Jian Wushuang was only 100 meters from An Chao. At this distance it would be less difficult for him to deal with An Chao. Secret skill, mind-controlling secret skill. He displayed the skill. An Chao immediately felt as if there was a sharp stinger stabbing him inside his head. Aya! He let out a scream of pain and stopped running involuntarily. Jian Wushuang closed the distance between them in an instant. Die! He shouted and struck. An Chao was still in confusion from the pain. He was hit before he could even struggle. His head was chopped off and his life core was destroyed as well. He was killed on the spot. Finally, the criminal who had caused Jian Wushuang to be trapped in the Eternal Zone for 100 years was dead. Jian Wushuang stopped fighting and stood in the void silently. He looked down at An Chao's body coldly. Brother Guqiong, I finally killed An Chao for you. Jian Wushuang clenched his hand, but in his heart he was relaxed. He had been living with his hatred for An Chao and his guilt for Guqiong's death all those years. He could finally live in peace. He smashed An Chao's body into pieces. He looked around. After finding there was no one around, he left. However, not long after he left, a figure appeared where he had been standing. It was Ming Yi, a gray-haired elder from the Nine Heaven sect. An Chao, the expert from the Boundless Demon sect, was killed? The elder could not believe it. And the one who killed him was Jian Wushuang, the peerless genius of the ancient sect and Shen Yi's disciple. I can't believe he is even still alive. More than that, he has grown so powerful. And Chao was an ordinary expert for his level, yet he was in the eternal realm. How could he be killed without struggle? Mingya's eyes were open wide. The image of Jian Wushuang killing in Chao kept flashing in his mind. He had hidden nearby when it happened and witnessed the entire thing. He could even recall the desperate scream in Chao let out right before he died. 800 years ago, when the news that Jian Wushuang was trapped in the Eternal Zone spread, Xianyi was extremely angry about it. It was only after killing 7 of the Cloud Sea Asgard's Eternal Realm experts and the other 2 magnates giving him 10 million divine gems as compensation, that he finally stopped pursuing the matter. At that time we all thought Jian Wushuang dead. No one dared to enrage Xianyi again. All the sects gave him their gems no matter how unwilling they were. Now, it turns out Jian Wushuang is still alive. If the 3 magnates find out, there's no way they'll let it go. Especially the Cloud Sea Asgard. It seems there will be plenty of fun waiting for us once we get out of the Eternal Zone. With this in mind, Mingyi left. After killing in Chao, Jian Wushuang went back to the baptismal pools. Gu Yang and others who had received the signal asking for help were waiting there. Master. They saluted Jian Wushuang. Gu Yang, where are the other 2 men? Jian Wushuang asked. When the 3 boundless demon sect experts had started to flee, he had chosen to chase after in Chao. The other 2 experts had been left to Gu Yang and the other clansmen. Those outsiders can move so fast and they're good at defending. I shot one of them down and killed him, but the other one escaped, Gu Yang answered. You killed one of them? Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. What Gu Yang said about the outsiders was true. They were indeed good at defending and it was hard to kill them. Because he had the mind-controlling secret skill, Jian Wushuang could have killed some of the outsiders, but most of the ancient god clansmen were not fast. Few of them had managed to kill an outsider. Given that, it was good of Gu Yang to kill one. The one you killed, show me his interspatial ring, Jian Wushuang ordered. Here you are. Gu Yang handed it to him. Jian Wushuang searched carefully inside the ring. He found a detailed map of the Tianqi Mountains and his look brightened. Haha, how lucky we are. He laughed happily. He found what he had failed to find in Xia Yuan's and in Chao's interspatial rings before. On the map, he saw a few places had been carefully marked and assumed they were the boundless demon sect's assembly sites. The map was similar to the one he had gotten from Wu Dao. Obviously, its owner had taken it with him for the same reason. It was his first time in the Tianqi Mountains. I already know the assembly sites of the Cloud Sea Asgard and Boundless Demon Sect. And now, Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. He took a token out from the ring and gave it back to Gu Yang. Since Gu Yang had killed the outsider all by himself, Jian Wushuang would not take the ring. Gu Yang, this is an ancient god token. Jian Wushuang handed him a token. Use it to send a message to gather all the clansmen here. I have some orders to give. Yes, master. Gu Yang nodded heavily and immediately sent out the message. Chapter 761, Assembly Sites. Chapter 761, Assembly Sites. Among those who were still adventuring in the Tianqi Mountains, only 2 of them held ancient god tokens. Those 2 were Jian Wushuang and Gu Heng. By using the token, they could quickly gather together the nearby clansmen. It was normally only used in an emergency. And at this time Jian Wushuang used it. Immediately, many clansmen raced toward Jian Wushuang at maximum speed. In less than half a day, about 150 people were gathered in front of him, ready to receive his orders. Even Gu Heng arrived there, having left as soon as he got the signal sent out by the token. Gu Heng went up to Jian Wushuang and said, Jian Wushuang, I thought you were in danger when I received your signal. I really got a shock. On hearing these words, Jian Wushuang gave him a smile. Tell me what's going on here? Gu Heng asked. He thought that there had to be a reason for this. I've killed some outsiders during the last several days and got a map from their interspatial rings. I think some of the places marked on it should be their temporary assembly sites. Jian Wushuang explained it to them. Oh, their assembly sites? Gu Heng's eyes lit up when hearing this news and he hurriedly continued, I knew that they have some assembly sites on this mountain, but I failed to discover them. One reason is that the mountain is so vast that there are many places that can be where their sites are located. The other reason is that those outsiders are so cunning that they will frequently change their assembly sites. That brought us a lot of trouble. Because most of the outsiders memorized the locations of the sites in their mind, I think this map must belong to those who have never been here before and are unfamiliar with the topography. Therefore they are usually more careful than other outsiders, so it will not be easy to kill them. Besides, most of our clansmen don't know what to do with the map, only we commanders know its value. Throughout the many long years that we've been fighting the outsiders, only one time did we get a map from them. At that time we found their assembly sites according to the map, set an ambush and struck them hard. Therefore, Jian Wushuang, if we can find their assembly sites this time, we can set another ambush and strike them like before. After saying those words, Gu Heng looked at Jian Wushuang with sparkling eyes. Great. That's what I'm considering now, and it's the reason why I've gathered all of you here, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Then, with a flick of his hand, he took out the map, which had been combined from 2 maps into one. On the combined map, there were 13 places marked in total. 7 of them were the assembly sites of Cloud Sea Asgard, the rest of them were the assembly sites of the Boundless Demon Sect. There are so many places marked on it, Gu Heng cried out excitedly while scanning the map. If those marks really represent their assembly sites, certainly they do. Jian Wushuang smiled. Based on his knowledge of Cloud Sea Asgard and the Boundless Demon Sect, he could tell that the assembly sites were really there. Normally there will be 2 or 3 outsiders gathered at each assembly site. So, to prevent them from fleeing from us, we will go to those locations in groups that consist of 1 silver-armored ancient god as the leader along with 10 clansmen. And when we get there we must hide our aura until the outsiders are all there. Then we will kill them directly. Good idea. But I think 12 groups are enough so we can have more members in each group. As for their last assembly site, I'll deal with it by myself, Gu Heng said with a grin. By yourself? Jian Wushuang was a little surprised, but he still nodded his approval. He knew that Gu Heng was powerful enough to destroy a group of Eternal Realm experts. At that moment he even mourned for the people in the assembly site that Gu Heng was going to visit. Having arrived at a plan, Jian Wushuang started to implement it. Among the 150 clansmen in front of him, some of them were as powerful as Eternal Realm experts at the first level, some of them were as powerful as experts at the second level, and some of them, such as Gu Yang, were even close to the experts at the third level. Jian Wushuang divided those people into 12 teams, with 12 people in each team, and had them head for the 12 assembly sites out of the 13. Gu Heng would go to last assembly site alone. Watching the clansmen march away, Jian Wushuang's eyes were filled with killing intent. Cloud Sea Asgard and Boundless Demon Sect, wait for my gift for you. As for Immortal Dynasty, I won't destroy you, but I won't let you go easily either. The Tianqi Mountains was a dangerous place for the experts from the Firmament territory, and when they encountered a stronger group of clansmen from the Ancient God clan, they would choose to flee separately. In such cases, they would have to go back to their assembly sites to find their companions later, as they had no other way to connect with each other in the mountains. As a result, those assembly sites meant a lot to them. 5 days had passed since the Eternal Zone had opened. In the middle of a hill, 2 experts from the Boundless Demon Sect were hiding inside a cave. Before long, another expert of the sect arrived in the cave. Since the 3 of them had found each other, they decided to leave the hill to adventure in other places. And right then a disaster took place. Chapter 762, The Massacre. Chapter 762, The Massacre. You 3. The 3 of them suddenly heard a voice from outside. They immediately looked up. Demon gods. At first, when they caught sight of several demon gods in front of them, they managed to remain calm. After all, it was normal for human experts to encounter demon gods in the Tianqi Mountains. However, when they saw that there were demon gods on both their left and right and even behind them, they began to panic. Oh my gosh! Why are there so many demon gods? With horrified expressions, the 3 scanned the demon gods surrounding them. The 12 demon gods started charging at those 3 from every direction. Shit. We're in trouble. Run. Even one life matters. The leader of the 3 shouted. They knew very well that if it was a smaller group that they had encountered, they could probably make it out alive by staying calm and displaying their skills. However, at that moment they were facing 12 demon gods at the same time. They fell into their enemy's ambush and had no way out. So they knew it was less likely that they would survive this time. Kill them all. Following their leader, an ancient god at the top of level 2, the 12 ancient gods came slashing at those 3. The three of them tried their best to fight, but still two of them were killed on the spot while the other one escaped heavily injured. In another remote valley lay one of the assembly sites of Cloud Sea Asgard. Two experts of the sect were gathered there, and suddenly they spotted a tall figure nearby. "Who's there?" They were alarmed as they looked toward the newcomer. It turned out to be a bald man who wore a bloodthirsty smile on his face. "It seems that I really have bad luck to find only two of you here." When they saw that man, those two changed their expressions. "A demon god?" one of them questioned in a low voice. The bald man was no other than Wushuang himself. Without saying anything further, he dived at the two while transforming into a silver-armored ancient god. His aura shot up high, and at the same time he had a huge saber in his hand. "During the last 5 days in the Jianghu Mountains, I've killed 4 outsiders, and soon I'll kill the 2 of you as well." He quickly moved forward as he spoke. Humph. The 2 experts had sensed Wushuang's formidable aura, but because they were facing just one ancient god, they thought they could kill him in collaboration. But soon after they found out they were wrong. Wushuang made his move. It seemed to just be a casual strike, but it killed one of the experts and badly wounded the other one. The surviving expert was frightened out of his wits and started running desperately. However, his opponent was a silver-armored ancient god, more talented than many of his companions. What was worse, this opponent had also learned some secret skills, including the mind-controlling secret skill. Therefore, the moment that Wushuang displayed that skill, this poor guy immediately lost all his senses and was killed in a single strike. Massacres like this took place on many peaks of the Jianghu Mountains. The assembly sites of Cloud Sea Asgard and the Boundless Demon Sect all suffered sudden attacks from the ancient god clan. The 2 or 3 experts in each of the sites could barely fight against 12 clansmen at a time and could only run away in desperation. Some of them even lost their lives after falling into an ambush. Although those experts had mastered excellent skills, that offered them little help in fleeing from a well-prepared joint attack. Only a few of them, like Wu Dao, who had a secret skill to create 18 doppelgangers, could make it out alive. No matter how fast they were, it was useless when every path was blocked. The entire Jianghu Mountains fell into a widespread massacre. Many years ago, there was an expert from the ancient god palace who got a map with the assembly sites of their opponents marked on it. During that time, the ancient god clan hit the outsiders hard. However, this time the battle between the 2 sides was much fiercer. After all, Jian Wushuang's side was trying to battle 2 magnates at the same time. With each magnate having more than 15 experts in the Eternal Zone, Jian Wushuang had over 30 Eternal Realm experts in his rival side, but to the whole ancient god clan, those people were nothing to fear. Having been targeted, most of the experts from Cloud Sea Asgard and the Boundless Demon Sect were killed. As time went on, the battle between the clansmen and the outsiders for the baptismal pools went on. Nevertheless, it would come to an end very soon because the Eternal Zone would only remain open for a short 10 days. 9 days passed by in the blink of an eye, and this was the last day that the zone would be open. And on that day, most of the experts of the sects would give up trying to seize the baptismal pools, go back to their assembly sites and leave the zone together. In the Jianghu Mountains there was a place named Heavenly Stone Valley. This valley was the last assembly site of the ancient sect. Many palace masters were gathered there. "Haha, you guys are so fast." With Palace Master Bayu's arrival, all the 9 Eternal Realm experts of the sect had arrived. Among them, except for Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Mo Tao, and Palace Master Ming Xn looking bad due to an encounter with Yun Fan, the others all looked good. Chapter 761 Assembly Sites. Chapter 761 Assembly Sites. Among those who were still adventuring in the Jianghu Mountains, only 2 of them held ancient god tokens. Those 2 were Jian Wushuang and Wushuang. By using the token, they could quickly gather together the nearby clansmen. It was normally only used in an emergency. And at this time Jian Wushuang used it. Immediately, many clansmen raced toward Jian Wushuang at maximum speed. In less than half a day, about 150 people were gathered in front of him, ready to receive his orders. Even Wushuang arrived there, having left as soon as he got the signal sent out by the token. Wushuang went up to Jian Wushuang and said, "Jian Wushuang, I thought you were in danger when I received your signal. I really got a shock." On hearing these words, Jian Wushuang gave him a smile. "Tell me what's going on here?" Wushuang asked. He thought that there had to be a reason for this. I've killed some outsiders during the last several days and got a map from their interspatial rings. I think some of the places marked on it should be their temporary assembly sites. Jian Wushuang explained it to them. Oh, their assembly sites? Gu Heng's eyes lit up when hearing this news and he hurriedly continued, I knew that they have some assembly sites on this mountain, but I failed to discover them. One reason is that the mountain is so vast that there are many places that can be where their sites are located. The other reason is that those outsiders are so cunning that they will frequently change their assembly sites. That brought us a lot of trouble. Because most of the outsiders memorize the locations of the sites in their mind, I think this map must belong to those who have never been here before and are unfamiliar with the topography. Therefore they are usually more careful than other outsiders, so it will not be easy to kill them. Besides, most of our clansmen don't know what to do with the map, only we commanders know its value. Throughout the many long years that we've been fighting the outsiders, only one time did we get a map from them. At that time we found their assembly sites according to the map, set an ambush and struck them hard. Therefore, Jian Wushuang, if we can find their assembly sites this time, we can set another ambush and strike them like before. After saying those words, Gu Heng looked at Jian Wushuang with sparkling eyes. Great. That's what I'm considering now, and it's the reason why I've gathered all of you here, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Then, with a flick of his hand, he took out the map, which had been combined from 2 maps into one. On the combined map, there were 13 places marked in total. 7 of them were the assembly sites of Cloud Sea Asgard, the rest of them were the assembly sites of the Boundless Demon Sect. There are so many places marked on it, Gu Heng cried out excitedly while scanning the map. If those marks really represent their assembly sites, certainly they do. Jian Wushuang smiled. Based on his knowledge of Cloud Sea Asgard and the Boundless Demon Sect, he could tell that the assembly sites were really there. Normally there will be 2 or 3 outsiders gathered at each assembly site. So, to prevent them from fleeing from us, we will go to those locations in groups that consist of 1 silver-armored ancient god as the leader along with 10 clansmen. And when we get there we must hide our aura until the outsiders are all there. Then we will kill them directly. Good idea. But I think 12 groups are enough so we can have more members in each group. As for their last assembly site, I'll deal with it by myself, Gu Heng said with a grin. By yourself? Jian Wushuang was a little surprised, but he still nodded his approval. He knew that Gu Heng was powerful enough to destroy a group of Eternal Realm experts. At that moment he even mourned for the people in the assembly site that Gu Heng was going to visit. Having arrived at a plan, Jian Wushuang started to implement it. Among the 150 clansmen in front of him, some of them were as powerful as Eternal Realm experts at the first level, some of them were as powerful as experts at the second level, and some of them, such as Gu Yang, were even close to the experts at the third level. Should he just tell them that he actually had the bloodline of the ancient god clan, which was why they treated him like their own people? If he said so, the 3 magnates and other sects would seize him. After all, as a gold-armored ancient god who also had imperial bloodline, he had the highest status and rank in the clan. Those 3-star ancient god treated him with respect. As long as he was willing, he could easily set up a baptismal pool or get his hands on the essence blood of an ancient god. This was much faster than waiting for the experts of Firmament territory to enter the Tianqi Mountains every 100 years and fight for them. Fine. If you really can't think of other excuses, make do with this. Palace Master Destruction smiled. The Eternal Zone is so big, it's actually possible that you found a place to hide for 100 years without running into any demon god. Besides this, there is one more thing I must tell you. 100 years ago, Palace Master Xian Yi was enraged by the news that you were killed inside the Eternal Zone. He killed 7 Eternal Realm experts of the Cloud Sea Asgard and forced another 2 magnates, on top of numerous sects, to give out their divine gems to take revenge for you. After all, it was about your death during that time. Besides, it was proven that the Cloud Sea Asgard did send their disciples out to kill you. Since Xian Yi was so powerful, the 3 magnates as well as the other top sects could only suck it up and do as told. Thus, if they find out that you are still alive, they will not let this 100-year-old matter down easily. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang could not help but gave a bitter laugh. He never thought that his master would do so many things to take revenge for him. But after all, this whole thing was started by Xian Yi. He is very capable and will have a solution for it. You don't have to worry too much about it. After we get out of Eternal Zone, you can explain the matter to Xian Yi and get him to tidy things up, said Palace Master Destruction. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly, but deep down, he could not help being worried. He knew that the others would think there had to be a secret behind him surviving such a long time in Eternal Zone. The three magnates and top sects would be desperate to get the secret out of him. The world outside was now a lion's den to him. Desperate times call for desperate measures. No matter what, since I have to leave this place sooner or later, I can't hide from it forever. I can only face it straight on. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands and his gaze flickered. Let's go. After Palace Master Destruction gave his orders, the other masters as well as Jian Wushuang gradually stepped into the wormhole in front of them. Finally, Jian Wushuang was leaving this place that he had been staying in for a whole 100 years. He was leaving the ancient god clan. Perhaps he would return someday. But it was for sure that it would be many years later. Chapter 764 Jian Wushuang returns. Chapter 764 Jian Wushuang returns. 10 days had passed, and all the sects started leaving the Eternal Zone one after another. The ancient gods who had been adventuring in the Tianqi Mountains all gathered together, ready to go back to their tribes. Gu Heng, the leader of those gods, had a grave expression on his face at this moment. Where is Jian Wushuang? Where is he? He shouted at the clansmen. Before they left, Elder Yi had told him to keep Jian Wushuang safe, as he had a very special position in the clan. At the moment, other than those who were killed by outsiders, all those clansmen who went to the Tianqi Mountains were all gathered here. However, there was no trace of Jian Wushuang. Could Jian Wushuang have already died in the hands of the outsiders? Sir, Gu Yang went up to Gu Heng and passed him a token, saying, Jian Wushuang told me to give this token to you not long ago. Token. Gu Heng's face darkened. He took it and started reading the information on it. He left? He went to the human territory? He's going to return in a few thousand years? Gu Heng's eyes were wide opened. Soon later, he began laughing bitterly. Jian Wushuang might have left in an admirable way, but he was going to have a hard time explaining to Elder Yi with just this token. In the dense ancient forest, outside the Eternal Zone, experts and disciples of the sects in the firmament territory were gathering here, in this place above the void, after exiting the wormhole. Within half a day most of them had arrived. Among those people, the experts of Cloud Sea Asgard and Boundless Demon Sect all looked grim. How many people did Cloud Sea Asgard and Boundless Demon Sect lose this time thanks to him? I remember that there were a total of 15 experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard entering the Eternal Zone, but now only 7 of them made it out alive. The Boundless Demon Sect is no better. It lost half of its people there. Tiske, I really want to know what happened to the 2 magnates there. The surrounding experts from the top sects were surprised, although they did show it. Each sect had their own losses in this trip to the Eternal Zone. Among them, the Cloud Sea Asgard and Boundless Demon Sect had suffered the greatest losses. Half of their people died inside the Eternal Zone. As for the Immortal Dynasty, its situation was not as miserable, but it still lost 4 experts. 2 of them were killed by Jian Wushuang. Bastard. The demon gods found out about our assembly site on the Tianqi Mountains. The great elder of the Cloud Sea Asgard, Yun Fan, wore a grim expression, and his eyes glistened with anger. His sect and the Boundless Demon Sect all suffered a great loss. However, they could only admit that they had bad luck. It never occurred to them to blame others, much less Jian Wushuang. Just then, a blinding light shone from the wormhole, following which, a group of people came out one after another. Are they from the ancient sect? I wonder if they lost anyone inside. The waiting experts immediately turned towards the men from the ancient sect. When they saw that all 9 palace masters of the sect survived, they were surprised, although they did not show it. Obviously, the ancient sect did not suffer any loss in the Eternal Zone. Soon, the experts noticed the black-robed youth standing beside Palace Master Destruction. He was carrying a long sword. Judging from the youth's aura, they could tell that he was just a Divine Realm expert. A Divine Realm expert. Who is this guy? He is. Everyone's eyes were fixated on the youth. The experts from the 3 magnates as well as their disciples, all stared at the youth. Their gaze turned from confusion to suspicion and then to shock. Finally they were all horror-struck. Jian Wushuang. Someone blurted out in shock. Instantly, this fact registered in everyone's brain like a thunderbolt being struck across a cloudless sky. It's him, Jian Wushuang. He is the one who shook the whole firmament territory 100 years ago, and was taken in by Xian Yi as his own personal disciple. Isn't he supposed to be dead? How is this possible? How is he possibly not dead? This is impossible. Everyone was stunned. Even those experienced Eternal Realm experts could not believe their eyes when they saw Jian Wushuang standing in front of them again. Jian Wushuang, who was supposed to have died 100 years ago, was now appearing in front of them in one piece. Jian Wushuang, he isn't dead. The experts from the three magnates were dumbfounded. The only one who was not surprised at Jian Wushuang's appearance was white-haired Ming Yi, an elder from the Nine Heaven sect. He had witnessed how Jian Wushuang killed An Chao in the Eternal Zone. Hence, he was naturally not surprised at his appearance. Just when everyone was still in a state of shock, Jian Wushuang looked around and took in a deep breath. A comfortable smile widened on his face. After 100 years, I'm finally out. Jian Wushuang could not help but told himself that in his heart. For him it was really a long time. The clansmen of the ancient god clan had treated him well. He also had the bloodline of ancient gods. However, he was born in the human territory after all. That was where he was rooted in. All these people, Jian Wushuang glanced at each and every single one of them, not missing any of their expressions. Looks like they're all surprised. Jian Wushuang gave a cold smile. Just ignore them. Let's go. Palace Master Destruction. Palace Master Destruction spoke in a low voice. Following which, the many palace masters of the ancient sect followed Jian Wushuang back to the sect. However, just as they were about to start off. Wait. The low voice echoed throughout the place. Following which, a figure came to stand in their way. It was an old man with a youthful face. The moment he appeared, his aura suppressed all the others. Jian Wushuang, where are you hurrying to? The elder asked in a casual manner. However, his sharp eyes targeted Jian Wushuang. Chapter 765, No Consequence Will Fall on You. Chapter 765, No Consequence Will Fall on You. Yun Fan, what do you want? The crowd stood by Jian Wushuang, staring deadly at the elder, Yun Fan. Nothing. I'm just really curious how this boy, Jian Wushuang, managed to walk out of the Eternal Zone alive after staying inside for 100 years. What a strange thing, isn't it? Yun Fan answered with a smile. Strange thing? Indeed. The firmament territory had been in the Eternal Zone for a long time. During those years, the experts from the firmament territory would enter the Eternal Zone once every 100 years. After all their expeditions, they have already affirmed a fact. Anyone would die if they did not leave within 10 days. However, Jian Wushuang proved this wrong. This boy is the only one so far who has made it out alive after 100 years in the Eternal Zone. There must be something behind this. The surrounding experts' gaze became frenzied as they looked at Jian Wushuang. The Eternal Zone was a land of both opportunities and dangers. The ancient god clan, which lived in the Eternal Zone, was very unique. Although the experts from the firmament territory had adventured into this land countless times, they only managed to attain a small fraction of the opportunities. However, they were still kept clear of the real big opportunity, the real big secret that was hidden in the Eternal Zone. They had been dying to attain the real big opportunity. However, none of them was powerful enough to battle the ancient god clan. There were once two Dao masters from the firmament territory who also wanted to venture into the deepest parts of Eternal Zone, where the demon gods' so-called tribes were located at. However, once they entered the Eternal Zone, they immediately encountered some of the three-star ancient gods. Their adventure ended with them running away in a hurry. For so many years, they knew that the firmament territory could be a huge treasure on its own, but it was one that they would never attain. All that they could get were the insignificant baptismal pools and essence blood of demon god. Seeing that Jian Wushuang made it out alive, they saw hope. Jian Wushuang noticed the fervent gazes on him and he was not surprised. He poured out the words he prepared in advance. 100 years ago, I ran into danger in the Eternal Zone and did not get out in time. Later, I found a secret place in the zone and hid in it the whole time. I didn't come out even once until several days ago, and I was lucky to meet our palace masters again and managed to leave the zone with them. Hiding for 100 years? Yun Fan raised his eyebrows, saying, You had been hiding in the Eternal Zone for 100 years but yet not one demon god found you? And you even managed to find the people from ancient sect? Well, it seems that you are really lucky. Despite his words, Yun Fan was not convinced. Apart from him, None of the surrounding experts believed Jian Wushuang's words. Hiding in the Eternal Zone for 100 years. If it was possible for someone to hide in the Eternal Zone for 100 years without being found, all those who had failed to leave the zone in the past should have been able to as well. Elder Yun Fan, is there anything else? Jian Wushuang looked at the elder with calm eyes. Yes, one more. The elder replied. 100 years ago your master, Xian Yi, killed 7 Eternal Realm experts of our sect to take revenge for your death. Back then everyone thought that you were dead. Considering that our disciples did attack you first in the Eternal Zone, we did not fight back against him at that time, nor did we continue to harp onto the matter. But now you turn out to be alive. Then we should talk about how you can make up for our loss. The elder's voice became colder as he talked. Make up for your loss? How do you want me to do that? Jian Wushuang asked with a smile. Don't worry, I won't kill you. I just want you to stay at our sect as a guest for a period of time, Yun Fan said. A guest? Jian Wushuang looked nonchalant, but he knew it was a trick. Jian Wushuang knew that he meant to keep him as a prisoner rather than a guest. While doing so, the Cloud Sea Asgard would then think of ways to learn about the secrets of the Eternal Zone and Ancient God Clan from him. What if I say no? Jian Wushuang spoke. If you say so, then don't blame me for being merciless. Yun Fan's expression turned cold suddenly. As those words escaped his mouth, he held up his pale hand and pointed his index finger at Jian Wushuang. Immediately, a fully formed substantial wild wind of spiritual power blew violently towards Jian Wushuang. Seeing that, Palace Master Destruction shouted loudly. Yun Fan, what are you doing? Don't forget that Jian Wushuang is Xian Yi's personal disciple. Humph. Yun Fan snorted and ignored Palace Master Destruction's words. The wild wind did not die down. Instead, its momentum grew even stronger and enveloped Jian Wushuang. Whoosh, the strong wind raged in the sky. Soon, it formed a black light cocoon and enveloped Jian Wushuang inside it. He stood still in the light cocoon and watched it envelop him completely. However, Jian Wushuang did not even struggle. At this time he took out a messaging slip and sent a message to Xian Yi. Master, I'm back. The message was simple and straight to the point. I see. It's good to have you back. Xian Yi replied to him immediately in a calm tone. Jian Wushuang could not help but feel that something was not right. It seems that Master has expected my return. Did he know that I didn't die? Jian Wushuang shook his head and did not think about it further. He sent another message to Xian Yi. Master, though I made it out of the Eternal Zone alive, I'm in trouble now. Before he could finish his words, Xian Yi interrupted him, saying, The 3 magnates have always wanted to kill you. Now that you are the first one to come out of the Eternal Zone alive, it is normal that they would cause trouble for you. It would be strange if they do not make things difficult for you. Xian Yi seemed to have long expected Jian Wushuang's current situation. Kid, you've been in the Eternal Zone for 100 years, your strength must have increased quite a lot, right? Xian Yi asked suddenly. Well, yes. Jian Wushuang nodded repeatedly and asked, Master, why are you asking me this? There was a silence before Xian Yi spoke again. As your master, I know what you're thinking about. What I'm trying to say is, do what you want to do with no hesitation. With me here, no consequence will fall on you. Chapter 766, I give you a chance. Chapter 766, I give you a chance. Do what you want to do with no hesitation. No consequence will fall. Xian Yi's words were little, but Jian Wushuang could hear his confidence. It sounded as if everything was in Xian Yi's control. With the addition of Xian Yi's mysteriousness and overbearingness, those words gave Jian Wushuang an enormous boost in confidence. 100 years ago, the seeds of the grudge between him and the 3 magnates had been sown when they attacked him. Until now, Jian Wushuang had always been trying to take revenge against the 3 magnates. However, considering their enormous strength and long history in the Firmament territory, Jian Wushuang faced many difficulties. During the 10 days in the Tianqi Mountains, he had to wear a mask and conceal his identity when attacking the experts from the 3 magnates. He did not dare to take revenge explicitly, for fear that his master and the ancient sect would be involved in this matter. He clearly wanted to annihilate the 3 magnates, but he could not voice it out due to the many concerns. Now things had changed. His master's words dispelled all his worries and he now felt supported. Master, I know what to do now. Jian Wushuang nodded. Okay, Xianyi responded and ended the conversation. Jian Wushuang was still in the light cocoon. However, he now had a grin on his face. This grin was as cold as a sharp blade. Emperor's sword appeared in his hand. All those years of training, near-death failures as well as bloody lessons again and again. I had no choice but to hide my talents and skills. But today, with my master's support, I'll display all my abilities without restraint, Jian Wushuang thought to himself as his gaze shone fervently. He was a sword cultivator. A peerless swordsman. He was good at using the long sword and immersed himself in sword principle, which he loved. It was a principle that could annihilate, destroy and tear apart everything. Thus, as a peerless sword cultivator, Jian Wushuang had to be extraordinary. Jian Wushuang's killing intent was blooming while he remained in the light cocoon. His enthusiasm had died down after all these years of sufferings and miseries. There was no other choice. He had just entered the eternal world. His strength was not strong enough. He had to endure most of the time. But right now he could feel his enthusiasm boiling in his blood. Jian Wushuang even felt that all the blood in his body were boiling. Today nothing can stand in my way. His loud voice echoed through the skies. It was like a thunder that stayed in the skies for a long time. On the void, after trapping Jian Wushuang in the light cocoon, Yun Fan decided to take him to the Cloud Sea Asgard directly. Palace Master Destruction and the others were very anxious about Jian Wushuang's situation. They tried to intervene but were stopped by the people from Cloud Sea Asgard. Yun Fan stared at the light cocoon flying towards him. A sinister grin spread across his face. Though we suffered a great loss in Eternal Zone this time, bringing Jian Wushuang back will be enough to make up for it. Jian Wushuang, Yun Fan was in a fever of excitement. He was not excited over Jian Wushuang. He was thrilled at the thought of uncovering the big secrets of the Eternal Zone and getting the opportunities. Soon he could get them from Jian Wushuang. As for Jian Wushuang's teacher, Xianyi, the Cloud Sea Asgard was indeed fearful of Xianyi. However, it was not to the extent of being frightened. The secrets of Jian Wushuang were enough to make Cloud Sea Asgard go crazy. They could not bother about Xianyi at this point in time. Come here. Yun Fan waved his hands slightly at the cocoon, just as he was going to reach it. Whoosh! A bright and dazzling sword light flashed out of the cocoon, blinding everyone. The sword light had an incomparable sharpness and an unexplainable edge. It had shone suddenly from the light cocoon and reached everywhere after the sword struck out and cut the cocoon open. The accompanying ear-piercing sounds it made while doing so were like a peerless swordsman's roars and rage. Instantly, everyone was in distress and started running around. What's going on? Yun Fan was startled. He was just trying to entrap Jian Wushuang, but what was his identity? He was the great elder of the Cloud Sea Asgard, as well as an expert in Step 4 of the Eternal Realm. Hence, he thought that there was no way a Divine Realm expert could break free from his trap, not even those experts in Step 1 or 2 of the realm. However, Jian Wushuang made it. After breaking open the cocoon, Jian Wushuang appeared in front of the crowd again. At this moment, his black robe was billowing even without the wind blowing. Jian Wushuang's eyes narrowed and he had a cold face while holding a sword in hand. Hiss! Faint sword essences emitted from his body. He looked all the same as before, but the crowd could tell, with just one glance, that he was now completely different. In the past he used to keep all things to himself. No one knew his strengths. Now he was like an unsheathed sword revealing its shining edge. This feeling. Looking at Jian Wushuang, the experts of the sects frowned. They sensed a special aura coming from Jian Wushuang, spread by his sword essence. However, rather than calling it his aura, it was more of his temperament. Yes, that was it. Jian Wushuang's temperament had changed completely. Now Jian Wushuang was just standing there, not moving. However, he made others feel as if he was an extreme precious sword that could destroy everything in the world. Nothing could stand in his way. Invincible. Unstoppable. This was the temperament that he was showing. The temperament of the sword principle. Yun Fan. Jian Wushuang finally spoke, and his voice seemed to pass through everything before it rang in everyone's ears. Didn't you said that you want to invite me to the Cloud Sea Asgard to be your guest? I will make your wish come true. Everyone present became quiet. Countless gazes were fixed on Jian Wushuang as people listened to him. Make Yun Fan's wish come true. The experts were puzzled at Jian Wushuang's words. In the next moment, Jian Wushuang threw the Emperor's sword in his hand. The sword emitted a chilly sword edge as it headed straight towards Yun Fan. As long as you can take my sword away from me, I'll go with you. Jian Wushuang's loud voice was filled with endless sharpness. It echoed through the vast place. It rose up high into the sky with the sword essence and alarmed all the creatures there. Chapter 767 Jian Wushuang vs Yun Fan. Chapter 767 Jian Wushuang vs Yun Fan. The vast place had now quietened down. The experts and disciples were all looking at Jian Wushuang, who was standing in the void in great fear. They could not help it. What Jian Wushuang said really terrified them. How could a divine realm expert dare to challenge the great elder of the Cloud Sea Asgard? After all, Yun Fan was at step 4 of the Eternal Realm. Out of all the people there, who could be his match? Even Yun Fan himself looked at Jian Wushuang with a startled look. But in the next moment he started laughing hysterically. Haha kid, are you sure you're not sleep-talking? You're just a divine realm expert, winning you is not even glorious. You know what, I once got a puppet fighter by chance and never used it before. Now I'll have it fight with you to test its power. After speaking, Yun Fan waved his hand, and a puppet fighter immediately appeared before everyone's eyes. The puppet was covered with purple gems and only had one mouth and a vertical eye on its head. After its appearance, its body began to expand at an alarming speed. In an instant, it grew to over 100 meters tall. It gave off a terrifying aura. What kind of a puppet fighter is this? It's so big, too big. Oh my god. A puppet fighter over 100 meters tall. Its aura is too strong, it's already so far beyond step 1 of the Eternal Realm, I'm guessing it's nearing step 2. The experts of the sects were all in shock. Jian Wushuang's expression remained cold. He lifted his head and looked at majestic puppet fighter covered in purple gems. In the next instant his body moved suddenly. He was so fast it looked as if he was teleporting. His figure traveled through the void. At the same time he struck out his emperor sword. Whoosh! The sword light started to shine, and in the next moment, the crowd saw that Jian Wushuang's figure had already moved to behind the puppet fighter. The puppet fighter's aura was still overwhelming, but the crowd saw a clear sword scar on its waist. This scar broke its waist completely and its body was cut into 2. How is this possible? Yun Fan widened his eyes at his puppet fighter. Obviously, all that just happened were totally beyond his expectations. Before he had enough time to be in shock, he heard a whooshing sound. A figure appeared out of nowhere in front of him. Secret skill Twilight. Jian Wushuang's low voice rang in Yun Fan's ears. By the time he realized it, he saw a cold sword light lighting up in front of his mid-brows. It was less than half a meter away from him. How fast? Yun Fan instantly narrowed his eyes. He was too close to the blade and had no time to fetch his own weapon. He could only shake his long sleeves violently, causing a strong wind to surge and form into a powerful dragon. The dragon bellowed and charged towards Jian Wushuang with its mouth wide open. Bump! Yun Fan turned into a meteorite, smashing into the ground ferociously. When he reached the ground he created a huge pit that was 10 meters deep. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang immediately dived toward the pit. At the bottom of the pit, Yun Fan rose up to his feet and took out a black stone staff. However, he did not manage to get out of the pit in time. Secret skill Netherworld. Immediately, a net of terrifying sword lights covered the pit and fell mercilessly into the pit that Yun Fan was in. Boom! The earth began shaking. Some of the sword light hit the ground and created huge cracks on the floor instantly. These cracks then branched out in all directions. Eventually, the whole ground, which covered a few kilometers, were filled with cracks. Countless blocks and rocks were sent flying in all directions like shooting stars. The crowd in firmament territory were lucky to be standing above the void and not get hit. Bang! With another loud sound, a certain part of the cracked ground sunk in, following which 2 figures were seen, in the cloud of ashes, running into each other at the same time. Die! Jian Wushuang's eyes were burning with killing intent and his sword essence seemed to be able to cut the sky open. This shocking sword essence of his was then split into innumerable sword lights which shot towards Yun Fan. Yun Fan's aura rose tremendously at this moment. He spun the stone staff so fast as if it was causing the surrounding air to form a wheel of fast wind. At the same time, air flows were coming out from his body. They formed a stiff air shield to block off the sword light coming towards him. While he was busy defending himself, Jian Wushuang had approached Yun Fan and was less than 2 meters away from him. With the two fighters so close to each other, they had to rely on their near-distance offensive ability to win. Jian Wushuang used to cultivate earnestly during his long years in the underground palace of the 8th tribe. His offensive ability had increased tremendously since then. Jian Wushuang's terrifying near-distance offensive ability was in full launch. He had turned into an unbeatable sharp sword. The emperor sword that he was holding onto was a cold and dark sword edge. His body had turned into the sword's blade and his every move was full of sword light. Bang, 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 bang. Loud banging sounds rang through the skies. In just a short moment, Jian Wushuang and Yun Fan had exchanged over 100 moves. Each of their exchanges produced a rigorous wave that awed all the onlookers. Get lost. Jian Wushuang's roar echoed again in the skies. After which, his thighs were seen kicking hard against Yun Fan's back, as if they were a sword blade of a long sword. The terrifying strength caused Yun Fan to fall onto the disheveled ground once again. Bump. Another huge pit appeared. Seeing this, the onlookers were all shocked. Just several moments before, they had thought that Jian Wushuang was just joking when he challenged Yun Fan. However, with one strike, Jian Wushuang cut Yun Fan's puppet fighter into 2 parts. After that, he went up to Yun Fan directly. In just a few moves, he caused Yun Fan to smash into the ground below. Twice. What kind of strength was that? After knocking Yun Fan into the pit again, Jian Wushuang finally ceased his attacks. He gazed down at the pit with a stolid face. Suddenly, a thundering roar sounded from the pit. Soon the crowd was blinded by silver light. Following which, a huge figure rose up and appeared before everyone. It was a silver-armored ancient god. Yun Fan had transformed into an ancient god. Chapter 768, The Gold-Armored Ancient God Jian Wushuang. Chapter 768, The Gold-Armored Ancient God Jian Wushuang. Yun Fan had transformed into a demon god. He's the great elder of Cloud Sea Asgard, was it necessary? He is just battling a divine realm expert. This Jian Wushuang. The onlookers had already scrambled far away from the fight. All of them had an odd expression as they watched the battle. Yun Fan, who had transformed into a 5-meter silver-armored ancient god, stared deadly at Jian Wushuang with his silver light eyes. He had never thought that Jian Wushuang would push him to this stage. But after the fight just now, he understood that while Jian Wushuang was just a divine realm expert, his strength was strangely extraordinary. Kid, you should be proud of yourself for pushing me to this point, but you should stop now, Yun Fan growled in a low voice. Stop now. Jian Wushuang had a cold impression, even as he saw Yun Fan turn into an ancient god. Well, I don't think so. Jian Wushuang's voice was harsh and cold. As his voice fell, he activated his bloodline power instantly. Rumble, a dark golden light shone in Jian Wushuang's gaze. His body then started enlarging at an alarming speed. In just a short moment, he transformed into a 15 meters gold-armored ancient god. Everyone present was startled by the scene. What's that? A gold-armored demon god. Oh my god. It's so huge. I've never seen a demon god this big before. The whole place was in an uproar mixed with some angry voices. It's him? A purple-haired man from the Boundless Demon sect cried out in horror. His eyes were widened and he had a fearful expression. His companions immediately looked towards him and asked, Kang Jing, you've seen him before? Yes, in the Tianqi Mountains. He is the man who killed Xia Yuan, Kang Jing growled. When he was adventuring in that mountain with Xia Yuan and Chao and another expert, they encountered an extremely terrifying 1-star gold-armored ancient god. Out of the 4 of them, he was the only one lucky enough to run away. During then he had witnessed how that ancient god killed Xia Yuan. Before Jian Wushuang transformed, he did not think of him that way. But now that he had transformed into an ancient god, Kang Jing recognized him immediately. He was certain that Jian Wushuang was that gold-armored ancient god he had met in the Tianqi Mountains. His companions were shocked. You're saying that Xia Yuan was killed by Jian Wushuang? But it's impossible, wasn't he killed by a demon god? It's him. A purple-haired lady shouted in fear from the Immortal Dynasty camp. Back then Jian Wushuang had just reached the Tianqi Mountains. His first fight was against the 3 from Immortal Dynasty. In the end Jian Wushuang killed 2 of them. This lady was the one that got away. Now she recognized Jian Wushuang as well. Gradually, the survivors who had encountered Jian Wushuang during the 10 days in the Tianqi Mountains all recognized him. Two majestic figures were standing far apart from each other on the ground, facing each other. Though the silver-armored ancient god that Yun Fan transformed into was big, it looked tiny in front of the one that Jian Wushuang transformed into. Yun Fan stared at Jian Wushuang with a gloomy gaze. He spoke with an icy voice, "So you're the gold-armored demon god who stopped me last time? No wonder you attacked me instead of the experts from ancient sect." "Yes, it was me." Jian Wushuang admitted to it generously. You told us that you were hiding in the Eternal Zone for 100 years. Now it seems like it was a complete joke." Yun Fan sneered and continued. "If what you said was true, how did you get the chance to become a gold-armored demon god?" Everyone looked at Jian Wushuang, waiting for his reply. They were not convinced by what he said before. After seeing Jian Wushuang transform into a demon god, they were even more certain that Jian Wushuang was hiding big secrets. "It's the gold-armored demon god." A number of those in the crowd were eyeing on it. All the experts in the firmament territory had the same desire. It could be a big platform for their strength to increase tremendously. However, after so many years, only a few of them had transformed into demon gods. Furthermore, almost all of them only became copper-armored demon gods. Yun Fan had the best luck, yet he only transformed into a silver-armored demon god. But now, standing in front of them, someone had transformed into a gold-armored demon god. How could they not be agitated? Under watchful eyes, Jian Wushuang's expression did not change. He cast Yun Fan a cold gaze and spoke in a low voice, "You talk too much nonsense. I've told you that as long as you defeat me, I'll follow you to your sect. I'll then tell you everything that you want to know." "Very good, I'll show you no mercy then." Yun Fan continued, "I underestimated you just now and let you get an upper hand. But now things are different. Let me see how much your strength had increased after staying in the Eternal Zone for 100 years, you peerless genius from the ancient sect." Yun Fan continued standing at the same spot. The jet-black long staff expanded in size while radiating a powerful aura. The onlookers all nodded at Yun Fan's words. They could all see that Yun Fan lost an upper hand because he had not taken Jian Wushuang seriously in the fight just now. Although Jian Wushuang had the ultimate advantage, Yun Fan obviously took him too lightly, despite Jian Wushuang throwing him against the ground twice. But now Yun Fan was obviously going to go all out. "I also would like to know just how strong is the great elder of the Cloud Sea Asgard, the expert from Eternal Realm whose powers are officially known in the firmament territory to second my masters." Jian Wushuang's gaze was cold. While he was speaking, the Emperor sword in his hand had been elongated to 10 meters long and sword essences flew in all directions. A dark golden light was glistening in his eyes. His battle intent was shooting high up into the sky. Currently, Jian Wushuang's blood was already boiling. An angry voice kept echoing at the back of his mind. "Fight! Fight! Fight!" His battle intent was surging and his sword essence was overwhelming. As if feeling Jian Wushuang's inner turmoil, the nearby onlookers all held their breath. Everyone was in full concentration as they waited. The vast heaven and earth were in dead silence at this moment. It was so quiet that even the sound of a needle dropping could be heard. Whoosh, a light wind blew past the void. However, this small sound sounded like the sudden beat on the war drum. At that very moment, the two figures that were far apart on the vast ground both made a move at the same time. Chapter 769, A Fierce Battle. Chapter 769, A Fierce Battle. Boom. Jian Wushuang was a total of 15 meters tall. He stomped hard on the ground as a bright light shone from his eyes. The cracked ground crumbled apart under his feet. Ashes and crushed stones were splattered everywhere. Jian Wushuang started running forward, his huge feet treading on the ground heavily. He held onto the Emperor's sword tightly in his right hand, and though it did not strike out, the sword essence it radiated disturbed the air ruthlessly. Yun Fan charged out as well. He had a grave expression on his face. A vast spiritual power kept flowing from his body to his right hand. The two approached each other at an alarming speed. 1,000 meters, 500 meters, 100 meters, 10 meters, and they finally met. Jian Wushuang held up the Emperor's sword with both his hands. It had already grown to 10 meters long. He concentrated all of his power in his arms. Meanwhile, the sword heart in his sea of consciousness shook wildly and reached the peak of its power. All those powers finally streamed into his long sword. When the sword could bear no more power, Jian Wushuang struck forward, the gaze in his eyes stronger than ever. The first move of Boundless Heaven Sword Art, Annihilation Sword Move. Bang! The sword shadow of Jian Wushuang's merciless move was seen striking out, as the ground under his feet started to crack. When the sword shadow struck out, a groan seemed to ring in the air, as if the place was shivering under the shocking power. It was a sword meant to destroy. It was the first move of the Boundless Heaven Sword Art, the Annihilation Sword Move. The Boundless Heaven Sword Art was a secret skill created by Xian Yi. It was a high-level sword principle secret skill. The first move was already even more powerful than Netherworld, Twilight and other skills that Jian Wushuang created. When Jian Wushuang started his attack, Yun Fan's facial expression showed that he was struggling. Four-beast secret skill, Green Dragon Staff. He let out a low growl and raised the jet-black long staff in his hand. The staff instantly expanded once again. It looked as if a majestic giant mountain suddenly appeared in the void and there seemed to be a powerful green dragon circling around it. As if it came from another world, the giant mountain broke through the heaven and earth, ferociously smashing everything in its way. Back in the Tianqi Mountains, Jian Wushuang once had an official fight with Yun Fan. During that time he just wanted to cover Palace Master Destruction and others in their evacuation, so he had not made it a life-and-death battle, and neither did Yun Fan. But now it was different. Both wanted to fight until one of them dies. For this kind of fierce battle they had to go all out. The first move they made was their best move. The crowd watched as the all-destroying sword shadow collided into the giant mountain with green dragons circling it. They hit hard. It was a face-to-face battle. Bump. The huge sound staggered the place. The onlookers all let out a cry of pain. They felt like their ears were just pierced through by the loud sound. The loud bang was accompanied by an outburst of earth-shaking power. The void quivered, a large amount of energy started radiating towards the surrounding like sharp arrows. Bang, bang, bang. Those arrows rained on the surroundings or the ground, and each of them created a hole where it landed. Instantly the area was left riddled. But at this moment, in the center of the battlefield, Jian Wushuang and Yun Fan were seen being blown away at the same time. They were knocked out by the shock which seemingly turned them into shooting stars. Gleaming in silver light, Yun Fan's 5-meter figure was smashed against a hill. Bang! The majestic hill instantly crumbled down before disappearing off the surface of the earth. However, it did not stop Yun Fan from falling backward. He then smashed into another hill. Boom! 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 After 5 consecutive exploding sounds, Yun Fan finally regained his balance before he was about to knock into the 6th hill. On the other side, Jian Wushuang's situation was no better than Yun Fan's. A thick forest was behind him and there were no hills. While he was sent flying, he knocked down many tall trees, but that did not seem to stop him. Eventually he thrust his sword deep into the ground and finally stopped 100 meters later. The moment he regained his balance, he turned into a streak of gold light instantly and rushed forward. Yun Fan did the same. The onlookers did not even have time to react before another booming sound echoed. Jian Wushuang and Yun Fan exchanged a move again and exploded the space around them. Jian Wushuang had a cold expression as he stared at Yun Fan deadly. His sword struck out like a serpent targeting its prey, making no sound. Phew, phew, phew. He launched 3 fast attacks consecutively, and each of them aimed at Yun Fan's throat. Yun Fan, on the other hand, held onto his staff tightly. He swung it and managed to defend himself against Jian Wushuang's moves. Both of them staggered backward at the same time. Yun Fan then suddenly raised his head and opened his mouth. Roar! The growl echoed loudly throughout the heaven and earth. The growl was accompanied by a powerful sound wave attack. It went towards Jian Wushuang immediately. Jian Wushuang was too close to Yun Fan, he could not dodge the sudden attack. Oh no! Jian Wushuang's expression changed, and he immediately set up an energy shield inside his body with his spiritual power. Sound wave attack aimed at the inside of a body. Yun Fan was able to display such a skill due to his intensive study in a remarkable secret skill. The sudden sound wave broke through all layers of Jian Wushuang's shield before striking him heavily like a hammer. Umph! He let out a groan of pain and spit out a trace of fresh blood. Luckily, his body was extremely strong, and his immortality secret skill had improved tremendously during his years in the Eternal Zone. He had completed Mastering Blood Condensation Technique, Chapter 2 of the Immortality Secret Skill. As for Chapter 3, the Armor Technique, he was already at Stage 2 of Cultivation. Therefore, his body was stronger than many Eternal Realm experts. Besides, he was a gold-armored ancient god, and they were the most proficient in strength and defense. Although Yun Fan's sound wave attack caused him some injuries, it did not affect his battle strength that much. Chapter 770, The Best Move. Chapter 770, The Best Move. Jian Wushuang barely managed to withstand Yun Fan's sound wave attack using his own body. But at the same time, Yun Fan swung his long staff and hurled it at Jian Wushuang. Secret Skill, Heaven Anthem. Buzz, a miserable voice started echoing throughout the place all of a sudden. It sounded like music of lament. While the music sounded, a towering stone staff furiously streaked across the sky along a straight route. Jian Wushuang used his whole body and mind to block off the sound wave attack. He had just regained his composure when he was just about to get struck by the staff. He had no time to defend himself with his sword, let alone time to dodge. Secret Skill, Mind-Controlling Secret Skill. A strange power surged suddenly and covered Yun Fan. This strange power was felt like a sharp stinger stabbing him inside his head. What? Yun Fan felt a sharp pain. Although he could hold it in, it had slowed his movements. Jian Wushuang took advantage of the situation and went to the other side. At the same time, he struck out his Emperor's sword mercilessly. Get lost, he shouted. Funny. Yun Fan sneered. He moved his wrist and held up his staff swiftly to meet Jian Wushuang's sword. Yun Fan had just managed to block the attack before Jian Wushuang started to unleash his swordsmanship. Boom, boom. The two were soon in an intense battle. At first, they fought on the ground, leaving the land and the forest in ruins. Later, they moved their battlefield to the void, causing the sky to tremble and shake. A limitless amount of energy was thrown about in the sky, forming a wild wind. Following which, they came back to the ground again. It was a fierce battle. It was a battle like none before. The onlookers had retreated to another place to stay away from the two fighters since long ago. Many of the experts in the crowd, including the disciples who were only at the Divine Realm expert level, all had a dull look as they watched the fight. It was so amazing. It was definitely the most intense, crazy and fierce fight they had ever seen. The two showcased an array of tricks. After such a long fight, there was still no winner. Most importantly, one of them, Yu Fan, was an Eternal Realm expert ranked second in Firmament territory and had the fourth step of battle strength. And the other was just a Divine Realm expert. The astonishment was especially so among the disciples in the crowd. Is Jian Wushuang really just a Divine Realm expert? I never thought that a Divine Realm expert can be so powerful. I heard that even the most powerful Divine Realm expert could only be a match only for the weakest Eternal Realm expert, but now, it seems, with his current power, although he is just a Divine Realm expert, Jian Wushuang could kill an ordinary Eternal Realm expert like he was killing a goose. They were all Divine Realm experts, but the power demonstrated by Jian Wushuang was beyond those disciples' imaginations. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would never believe it. On the battlefield, the two finally widened the gap between them again. Yun Fan was standing still in the void. His gaze showed that he no longer took his opponent lightly. Instead, there was a serious look that was not there before. This boy. I've tried my best, but I still cannot gain a bit of upper hand. How could he be as powerful as me when he is just a Divine Realm expert? Yun Fan was astonished. If someone had told him before this that there was a Divine Realm expert who as powerful as him, he would laugh and even disdain the person. However, now he knew that it was indeed possible. Jian Wushuang's ability was nowhere weaker than his. Not only is he not weaker than me, but he also has plenty of spiritual power. Yun Fan narrowed his eyes. His battle with Jian Wushuang was so crazy. He used every single trick that he knew. That would definitely be a toll on spiritual power. For an expert of Eternal Realm like him, his spiritual power was already depleted by more than 30%. Jian Wushuang was just a Divine Realm expert. He should have exhausted all his spiritual power after such an intense fight. But in reality, he was still at the peak of his condition. Although I do not know why he has so much spiritual power, it is very obvious that I cannot win him by suppressing him with mine. Since that's the case, I can only do this. Yun Fan's face darkened and he lifted up his head. Jian Wushuang, you are really something else. You're just a divine realm expert, but you're the most powerful one I've ever heard. Prepare to take my best move then. As he spoke, a fiery red energy kept surged out of Yunfan's body. Your best move? Jian Wushuang looked indifferent and had a faint shine in his eyes. I am looking forward. The best move? Upon hearing Yunfan's words, the onlookers all turned towards Yunfan. They were looking forward to it as well. I've never displayed this move in front of others ever since I became the great elder of our sect. Boy, you should feel proud for making me do this. Also, don't worry. In the end, I will control my power and not kill you. Yunfan's voice echoed again, full of confidence. He raised his staff high up above him. A large amount of fiery red energy surged wildly while it covered the whole void, as if it was a fire in the sky spreading gradually. Jian Wushuang felt scorching hot, as if he was in a sea of fire. Yunfan was standing in the center of the fire, as if he was the king of fire. With a wave of his hand, the fire disappeared, leaving behind a red staff shadow that was protruding out. Four-beast secret skill, Burning Dragon. Yunfan snarled. Roar. A loud roar echoed throughout the place. Jian Wushuang widened his eyes only to see a burning dragon coming straight at him. A giant burning dragon appeared where the staff shadow pointed to. The dragon was about 10,000 feet long and was covered in fire. It seemed to be able to destroy everything. It growled lowly as it neared Jian Wushuang in raging fires. The onlookers could not help but to tremble with fear at the scene. This move is so formidable. A few Eternal Realm experts started murmuring. Many experts present shared his feeling. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.